Hello everyone, my name is Quinn, my pronouns are they, them, and welcome to my channel, Lucid Moons. Today I'm here to do a really super fun VR to Imogen at Sapling Tarot, and they created a tag called Tarot Bartender, where we get to explore tarot through different types of cocktails. And I thought it was just so much fun, such a great idea, such a cute tag. I will link Imogen's video down below. I've been watching a few of the responses, and I also watched one that I really enjoyed from Jennifer over at Bohemian Rose Tarot. She was a bartender at one point in her life, and so she actually goes through and explains what all of the different cocktails are and how you make them, and tells little personal stories with all of them, and I thought that was really awesome too. I personally have only tried a few of the cocktails on this list. I do love a good cocktail, but I guess I'm not as knowledgeable or as cultured as some of the other people. So if you want to know what these are, if you're like me and you don't have a lot of knowledge, definitely go check out Jennifer's video. I will link hers down below as well. Something that she did is she did switch out some of the prompts for more American style drinks, because I guess the original video is very British, according to her. So I did use at least one of her new prompts because I was more familiar with the one that she had selected. But yeah, other than that, we'll get started. And the first one is the Old Fashioned, which is your favorite classic tarot. Now, I don't think I've ever tried an Old Fashioned. Maybe I tried like a sip. It doesn't sound like a drink I would really like. But in terms of my favorite classic tarot, or my favorite riff on the classic tarot, I chose the Tarot of the Cat People by Karen Q. Kendall. I guess this is kind of a classic in the sense that it's, you know, it's kind of old now, it's kind of vintage now. It was from the 80s. I've talked about this deck a lot on this channel, and I'll probably keep talking about it because I love it so much. It's just such a fun sci-fi reimagining of the traditional RWS. I remember seeing this tarot in like bookstores and stuff when I was a kid and always being really interested in it. So I'm really glad that I was able to bring it into my collection. And yeah, it remains one of my favorite like older decks, riffs on the, you know, the traditional RWS. I don't have very many like classic decks or traditional decks in my collection. I don't even own like a traditional RWS anymore. So this is as close as I could get, but I do really love this deck. I love the vibrant colors. It's a deck that makes me smile. And yeah, it's just an all-around really great deck. And so I figured this would be a good choice for the Old Fashioned. The next prompt is a gin and tonic, a no-frills, straightforward, and to-the-point deck. I have had a gin and tonic. I do love me a good gin and tonic. That's a classic. And I just love gin-based cocktails in general. There's actually a really cute little gin bar that opened up near my house, and I went there on my birthday. I was already a little bit too tipsy, so I didn't order my own drink, but I was just like taking sips of like all of my friends' drinks, and it was so good. They put really cool like garnishes, like actual pine tree branches and like berries, so it was so fancy and so good. So the deck that I chose for this is the Aviation Tarot by Orla Bird. And first of all, I feel like this just kind of gives like a gin vibe, like the aesthetic, but I also thought that it fit the prompt well as being kind of a no-frills deck because it is a pip deck. And it's so pretty. I absolutely adore this art style. I follow Orla Bird on Instagram, and they are currently, I think, about to release another tarot deck that has, it's in the same style, but it has very like more people, or like silhouettes of people, and it looks really beautiful. I love this colors palette. I feel like it screams gin, like to me. And yeah, this is like very straightforward, very much to the point. I haven't worked with it too much. It's going to come out in the winter this year. But the readings I have done with it have been extremely clear, extremely straightforward. And so it honestly is a perfect gin and tonic deck in my opinion. So that is the Ave Somnia Tarot by Orla Bird. The next one is a Spritz, which is a deck to brighten your day. I had to look this one up because I know what a wine spritzer is, and to me it's like a really cheap wine that I would buy when I was like underage in college. That was like $5 or something at the gas station. But I guess it could be that, or it could also be like a Prosecco based drink, I think. I don't know. I could be totally wrong, so please excuse my lack of knowledge, but either way, it's a deck to brighten your day, and I chose none other than the Rainbow Tarot by Sonia Lazo. This is the indie edition, and it is available mass market currently. This deck is, I mean, just, you cannot be sad while you're using this deck. I mean, look at the edges, look at the colors, it's so vibrant. It's so much fun. I always talk about the faces in this deck. I love their sassy faces. They look grumpy and kind of judgmental, but in a really fun way. The minor arcana is based on the RWS, and the majors are more Marseille. And yeah, it's just such a fun, queer, in-your-face, bright and colorful deck. It's an easy reader, and it brings me a lot of joy every time I use it. And just, yeah, the vibes definitely give off Spritz. I mean, just the word in itself makes me happy, Spritz. So this is my Spritz deck, and this is the Rainbow Tarot. The next prompt is a dirty martini. This is a drink that I definitely know what it is, but I've never actually tried it. I think in the past I was scared. I was really scared. Like the idea of like vodka and like olive juice, or like straight liquor and olive juice, that was scary to me. But I think as I've gotten older and my palate's changed, I've gotten more into like olives and pickles and that type of like food, like fermented foods and things. So I would like to try a dirty martini now that I'm a little bit older. I think that it might be something that I could get into, but I'm still a little bit nervous to try it. The prompt for this is a strong and salty deck. Now, I chose the Blind the Sun Tarot by Allison M. Garcia. And this is just a really, really cool deck. It is salty, like it's straight up salty. That's what it reminds me of. Unfortunately, it is out of print. I have one of the older editions that I got secondhand. But these cards are just so like punk rock, like they don't give a fuck. They're gonna tell you exactly how it is, and they don't really care if you're sad about it. It's just super direct. It's super like irreverent, and yeah, it is what it is. I absolutely love this deck. It makes me really happy, actually, but it's definitely a no-nonsense kind of reader for me. And I think like the black and white, very hand-drawn aesthetic also kind of contributes to the overall salty vibe. But I just love the cute little animals, and I have a lot of fun with this one. So this is my Dirty Martini deck. It's the Blind the Sun Tarot. The next cocktail on the menu is a Pina Colada, and I was just telling my partner, like, this is crazy, but I don't think I've ever actually had like an alcoholic Pina Colada. I could be lying, like maybe I had one at one point, but I don't think I've ever had one. And I think it's because in the area we live, it's like a lot of dive bars. There's not a lot of like fancier places, I guess, or like tropical themed places. I don't know. It's just not something that I would order in a regular bar, I guess. I don't know. I would feel really weird about doing that. I don't even know if they could make it. I doubt they would make it for me in most of the bars around here. But it sounds delicious, and it's definitely something I would like to make myself or order next time I'm at a place that offers it. But the prompt for this one was a deck for a summer holiday. And I chose the Desert Illuminations Tarot. And Pina Colada is usually like a beachy vibe, and I could have gone with like a beachier and oceany deck, but I really thought about the type of summer holidays that I've been on with my partner. And a couple years back, we took a trip to New Mexico and Colorado, and we had an absolutely amazing time. We had an amazing adventure. It was a road trip, so we drove all the way there. And just driving through New Mexico really reminded me of this beautiful deck. The bright colors remind me of summer. They're so vibrant, they're so energizing, and it's just really fun. It just reminds me of like a road trip or an adventure into a place that's kind of near where I live. It shares the culture of where I live in Arizona, and it's one of my favorite decks ever. So this is my Pina Colada deck. The next prompt is the Hot Toddy, which is a deck for a cold winter's night. Now, I thought I knew what a hot toddy was, but then when I watched Jennifer's video and she explained it, I was like, never mind, I've never had that, and that sounds really disgusting. I don't know if I would be into that. I would definitely try it. I'm open to trying new things, but it sounded a little weird for me. But in terms of a deck for a cold winter's night, I decided to go with an Oracle deck for this one, and I chose the Folktales Oracle. This is one of my favorite Oracle decks. It's so beautiful, and it's just such a calming, cozy kind of vibe for fall or winter. It just feels so peaceful. It makes me want to snuggle up on my couch with a blanket, maybe light some candles, cuddle with my dogs. It's just so cozy and so comforting to me. I felt like it would be a very, very perfect choice for this prompt. Like, look at this home card. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. It's just so beautiful and cozy and just makes me want to be like in my cozy sacred space in my house. So this is the perfect hot toddy deck. This is the Folktales Oracle. The next prompt is the Irish coffee. Imogen originally had it as the Espresso Martini, but I liked Jennifer's choice to change it to the Irish coffee because that was one I was more familiar with. I'm a huge coffee lover, and throwing a little bit of alcohol in there, that's like a dream. So this is a deck that is energy boosting, and I decided to go with the Outgrow Yourself Tarot and Oracle by Octa Spauman, and this is a really fun, colorful, bright, and energizing deck. I've edged mine in yellow. There's like one card in there that's not edged. I always point that out and then I never fix it. But this deck feels very much like a call to action in a lot of the cards. Like, it's gonna call you out on your BS, but it's also going to tell you like what you can do to improve, I guess. So it feels like a little kick in the butt when you're reading with it, and I love that about it. It gives like, a Irish coffee vibe, like gives you a little kick in the ass, like get up and get going. So I really, really love this artwork. I love the bright colors. I love the botanicals with the black background, and I really personally use this as an oracle. I don't use it so much as a tarot because I just love reading the little phrases or affirmations or whatever you want to consider them. So this is my Irish coffee deck, the Outgrow Yourself Tarot and Oracle. The next prompt is the Manhattan, which is a deck to take your time with, to sip and to savor. Never in my life have I tried a Manhattan, so I can't speak to that. Don't think it's something I would enjoy. But in terms of the prompt, I decided to go with the Mysteries of the Black Madonna Tarot because this is definitely a deck to take your time with and to really savor everything that it has to offer. Have mine divided up in a weird way in here, so I'll just take out a portion of the deck. These are the backs, and each one of these works of art was like a little, I forget what they're called, but basically like a mini little sculpture, or what's the word for it? It's like a little shoebox sculpture that this artist has carefully and meticulously put together, and the fact that they created 78 of these works of art for this deck, and that they have a whole nother deck with the same style of art, is just like absolutely amazing. There's so much to behold in each and every one of these cards, And the guidebook that comes with this deck is also just an absolute wealth of knowledge on everything having to do with the Black Madonna as an archetype, the history, the different Black Madonnas all around the world that you can go actually visit. And yeah, it's honestly crazy. It's a little bit overwhelming. And so I am taking my time with this deck. I pull one card a month. I'm behind a month right now, but that's okay. We'll get to it. The idea is to pull it near the full moon for me. It hasn't always happened that way just because I'm a hot mess express sometimes. But it's just, yeah, it's not a deck that I would probably pull out and pull a bunch of cards and like do a reading. It's really one that I'm just gonna pull one card at a time, read in the guidebook, maybe journal a little bit about it, and really let that sit for a while. So I felt like this was a really good deck for this prompt because it's meant to be savored, it's meant to be studied, take your time with, and it's also just really classy. So that is my Manhattan, which is the Mysteries of the Black Madonna Tarot. Next up, we have the Bloody Mary. This is one of my favorite cocktails ever. I don't care, breakfast, lunch, dinner, any time of day I'll have a Bloody Mary. I do not care. I love them so much. But it has to be a good one, and it's really hard to find good ones. There's one place up where I went to college up in Flagstaff, Arizona, called Martin's, and they have the best Bloody Mary I've ever had. I crave it all the time. I have yet to find one down where I live now that even comes close, but I still enjoy having them, you know, from time to time. The prompt for this one was a problem solver, and I think the idea was like, you know, you're a little hungover, you had too much to drink the night before, you know, you order a Bloody Mary in the morning to kind of solve your problems. I don't think that's really gonna work, if I'm being honest with you, but I don't think it's gonna solve any problems for you, but I just enjoy them because I think they're delicious and they're very filling. It's almost like a meal in a drink. So I like to have them at brunch or, you know, like I said, any time of day, just for something that's really like filling. There's often like vegetables and garnishes. Like it's a very wholesome little meal in a cup. And I chose the Children of Litha Tarot for this prompt. First and foremost, because it does fit the prompt of being like a problem solver. I think that this deck is one that I definitely go to when I need guidance about difficult things because it's not going to shy away from the hard truths. This deck is really balanced. There's really beautiful, positive imagery in here, but some of the cards in here are really hard to look at. Like they're really confronting. We'll see if we come upon one. This one's not too crazy, but there's some cards with like blood. Bloody Mary, you know what I mean? There's like slaughtering, like killing other animals, humans slaughtering animals. Like it's not necessarily like a super light and fluffy deck, even though there are a lot of really beautiful cards. And I feel like it is almost like a meal in a cup, a meal in a deck because it is so balanced. It has animal energy, it has human energy, it has mythical creatures, it has all four seasons. Here's an example of one of those really hard cards and difficult cards to look at with lots of blood and gore. It has all four seasons, it has a variety of colors, light and dark messages. The people that are depicted are very diverse. Like it's just it's a very wholesome deck, not in the sense that it's like cute and cuddly, but in the sense that it's like very like complete. So I felt like this was a great example for a Bloody Mary, and it's one of my favorite decks ever. And Bloody Mary is one of my favorite cocktails ever, so it just works. So this is the Children of Litha Tarot by Zia Hunt. Okay, so the next prompt is the Mojito, which is a palate cleanser. Now, I do know mojitos and I do love them. It's a really, really delicious drink, but they have to be done well. They have to be done right, and I know that it takes a lot of time to make them, so it's not something I order a lot or very often, but it is one that I really, really love, and it's one of my partner's favorite drinks as well. So this one is the palate cleanser. So I decided to go with the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot as a palate cleanser deck. And let me let me tell you why. I think that this deck is really gorgeous, but it's kind of like neutral, I guess. Like the color palette is very neutral. It's an RWS clone. I mean, it's not like a clone, but you know what I mean. It's very, very much an RWS based deck, and it's, for that reason, it's very much a sharpshooter, straightforward, easy reader kind of deck. And so it feels very, it's that, and it also feels very soothing, I think, to have like a limited color palette, especially the cards that have blue. It's just so soothing, calming. It feels like a deck that I would pull out if I just need some direct answers. Nothing too crazy, nothing too wild and adventurous. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. Just something that's going to tell me what it is and kind of like lower my blood pressure a little bit. And yeah, so I thought that this was a great Mojito deck. This is the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot, and we're going to end on that beautiful death card. The next cocktail on the list is the French 75, which is a special occasions deck. I've literally never heard of a French 75 in my entire life. I'm assuming that's one of the ones that's like a more British or like a European kind of thing. But the one that Jennifer proposed, I had also never heard of in my life. So I'm just going to stick with the French 75. I'm not going to change that one up, but that one is a special occasions deck. So I decided to go with my Afro Avatar Tarot for this because I love this deck and it's super gorgeous. I'm the kind of reader and collector where I do try to use all of my decks at least a little bit throughout the year. Like I try to cycle through all of them and get through them all. But you know, naturally there's going to be decks that get more use than others. And this one being a fandom deck, it's not one that I'm always necessarily in the mood for. So I don't use it a ton, but it's there when I'm really feeling my Avatar vibes. And I really love it. I think that it did an amazing job on showing the 4 elements from the show, tying them to tarot. I think that the choices of the characters that they use in each card are absolutely brilliant. I think it's, you know, one of the best Avatar decks out there, and I also think it's really cool that it is the Afro Avatar Tarot and that, you know, these characters have been changed to be black, and I think it's just badass and it's really beautiful. Definitely a deck that I would want to use when I'm feeling like I want to connect to this energy. Maybe if I'm rewatching episodes from the show, which I want to do a whole rewatch sometime again soon, and maybe pull this deck out. I think that would be really fun. So this is my special occasions deck, my French 75, and it's the Afro Avatar Tarot. The next cocktail on the menu is the Aviation, a wild card deck when you're feeling adventurous. I've literally never heard of this in my entire life, once again, but I did look it up and it looked absolutely delicious and I would love to try it. I think if I remember correctly, it was a gin-based drink, and yum, it looked so good. So wild card deck when you're feeling adventurous, I decided to go with the Outsider Tarot. This is a really cool deck. I don't see it shown a lot on YouTube. I discovered this deck from Andy's channel, Andy and Arcadia, I think it is. And I had never seen it before. I had never heard of it before, but I was really intrigued by it because it's so unique. And I forgot to say this is by Bobby Abate. So this deck is just really out there. It really does its own thing. It kind of has its own, I don't want to say its own system, but kind of. It's a very queer deck. It's a very unconventional deck. And really, one of the most amazing parts of it is the guidebook. The guidebook is amazing. It gives you so much information. And it really ties the tarot meetings into a lot of like pop culture references, historical references, and it just goes places you would never expect it to go. And I find that so interesting, and I love decks that do that, where they take me places with the tarot that I never would have thought of myself. And this deck really does that. So it really is adventurous. It really is out there. It really is like a wild card in my opinion. And I think it's just so much fun. Definitely an underrated deck. This one is currently on my table and I'm working with it this August and I just absolutely love it. You'll notice, oops, I have a reversal here. The majors are like more pippish. Obviously majors can't be pips, but you know what I mean? Like they're more minimal and the minors are more like illustrated, which is really interesting to me as well. So yeah, this is the Outsider Tarot. So the last prompt is your usual, right? So like I said, I do love to go out and get cocktails. I usually like to just look at the menu and see what kind of like specialty cocktails they offer. I will usually go for one that has tequila because I'm like a tequila person. I also love mezcal based drinks. I love gin from time to time, and I'll even do a little bit of a vodka, but I'm definitely like I don't really go for the whiskey and the rum and that kind of stuff. Every once in a while I will, but not very often. I usually stick to like tequila, mezcal, and gin. So some things that I would normally order, one is the Oaxacan old fashioned, which is basically like an old fashioned with mezcal, and I think they use like agave syrup or something. It's so good. There's a couple places around here that do drinks like that, or that exact one, or some that are similar to that, and I absolutely love it. I love mezcal. It has like a very smoky flavor. It's also made from the agave plant. It's just so good. I also love a good Moscow Mule. Like that's a classic drink that I love. I love when they give it to you in the little copper cup. So much fun. It's just a classic. And, you know, I live in Arizona, so I had to mention I love getting margaritas. Margaritas can be very hit or miss, but like if you get a really good like craft margarita, so good. I love to get spicy ones, so ones that have like jalapeno and things like that. Sometimes they'll put tahini around the rim. So good. You'll see a lot of places around here that offer like a prickly pear flavored margarita, which is also so good. I love all the fun flavors, so that's definitely a go-to for me. And then the other ones that I like to drink aren't usually cocktails, but like I love a good shot of tequila with some lime and some salt. That would probably be my first choice. And then I also like to enjoy seltzers and ciders and things like that. I'm gluten-free, so I can't do the beer. So if I'm just like, you know, being casual, I would probably go for like a seltzer or a cider or something like that. So yeah, I'm supposed to show my most used deck. That would probably be the Next World Tarot, but I feel like I've shown that a million times recently on my channel, and I wanted to go with something a little bit different. So I decided to show you the Spirit of the Animals Oracle. I love this Oracle deck, and I use it very frequently in the sense that I use it for my monthly practice. So, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon because I really enjoy that practice. I also use it for a yearly animal card pull. I've edged mine in dark green, and this is just such a fun deck. It's kind of like cheesy, corny, like old school Oracle with a big ass card, and like the message is right there on the card. There's also a guidebook that tells you a lot more information about it. But I like it because it's like you could just read this one keyword right here, guardian. You could read this little blip right here and be done. You could go into the guidebook and read more in depth. You can really, you know, take it however you want. But I just feel like I love the artwork. It has such beautiful artwork. And I feel like the keywords that they chose for each animal are really good. Like the choices that were made really work for me and how I see animal energy, because that's really important to me. I love animals and I am able to like connect with that energy very intuitively. This is one of my animal guides, if you will. And yeah, there's so many animals. It's like there's a lot of cards in this deck and there's a variety, and I just think it's one of the best animal decks out there. It's mass market decks. It's really readily available. I forgot to say it's by Joy Bergsma. And yeah, it's just stunning. So I usually pull a card at the start of each month as kind of like my animal energy for the month. And maybe I'll journal a little bit about it. Maybe I won't. Or maybe I'll just jot down some keywords or something in my journal. So at the end of the month, I can kind of like reflect on it. And it's just, I love that practice. I've been doing it for a couple years now and I don't plan on stopping it. So yeah, it's a deck that I use a lot, probably more frequently than most of my other decks that I kind of try to cycle through seasonally. So yeah, that is a Spirit of the Animals Oracle. That's the last one. I had so much fun doing this tag. Thank you, Imogen, for creating it. It was such a great idea. And thank you to all of you for hanging out with me and watching. I hope that you guys are doing well, and I hope that no matter where you are or who you are, the rest of your day is filled with so much magic and so much joy. Bye-bye.